Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Moderately Successful Podcast, where my co-host and I, we understand that not everybody wants to be a part of the 1% necessarily. There's a lot of work-life balance that not everybody aspires towards. So it's our mission here at the Moderately Successful Podcast to take a look into the stories of the other 99% and what they attribute towards their versions of success, and to get key takeaways from their life that you can apply to yours. And we're going to do the same here at the Moderately Successful Podcast. And here we are with episode 2 with my co-host Chris Chan and Austin Rogers. What's up, guys?
Let's do this.
Number 2, we're officially in the books. We're official on Spotify. And as of today, I believe we're almost on Apple Podcasts. So hey, if you're listening today, make sure you go check that out. Last time we had a good special guest, and today we're continuing that trade. We got Chris Berry on. Chris Berry is a YouTuber known as the Idaho Painter, and I think last time I checked, you have 550,000 subscribers on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, and then hundreds of thousands on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think anything on social media, we're there. So 400 and some thousand on Facebook. Yeah, Instagram, 140 some thousand. TikTok somewhere up there too. So yeah.
Love it. And if you guys don't know his channel, it's called Paint Life TV. And like I said, it's a pretty big channel. Are you the top painter in like the top paint channel in the world, or your top 3 or something like that?
You know, that's hard to say anymore. So YouTube is a rapidly growing platform. I would say when it comes to content creation, educational content, probably. There are painters with more subscribers that one of them only does shorts. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's something new.
You know, it's a funny story. So I think I told you this a long time ago when we didn't know each other. So for those of you listening, I know Chris's son-in-law, Luke, who I'm really good friends with. And before I ever met Chris or any of the Berry family, I actually watched one of your videos. So it was during the COVID lockdown. I was back home and with my parents for a couple months, helping them out. And we were staining the side of our house, and I was like using one of those paint tools to lay plastic with the tape. I don't even know what they're called. That's how naive I am to this stuff. He probably could have lined this on the show. But I was like pissed off that I couldn't figure this thing out. And so of course I YouTubed it and it popped up. So like flash forward to when everything was, we were starting to come out and go back to gyms, and I was hanging with Luke again. He mentioned that you did YouTube and you had a pretty big channel, and I was like, what's his name? And he was like, oh, the Idaho Painter. And I was like, I definitely learned from one of those videos.
So hopefully you watch the ad.
I was going to say
the ad.
I didn't help the algorithm at all. I literally went to the middle, watched the segment, and was like, all right, I'm out.
So you didn't help my bank account.
No, I need to go back.
All right, so we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, here, I'll go back and watch it.
That's where it ends.
But one of the things that we like to start the show off, so like everybody knows you, or at least a lot of people know you in the world, and they know you as this YouTuber, entrepreneur, paint life, supply company, and all that stuff that you have. But we want to know, who is Chris Berry in the words of Chris Berry?
Well, basically what we're trying to ask you is like, what would you consider yourself, or what would you identify as?
I would identify as a Christian father of 3 and with an amazing wife that I've been married to for coming 34 years, going to be 35 awesome. Years. Yeah, so, that's who I am. What I do behind the scenes is a little bit different, but I think that would sum it up.
What makes those things come to mind first and foremost?
I think we can identify success, in a lot of different ways. And, I think the way I identify success is that, up to this point, that I've raised 3 amazing girls that they love each other, man. They're best friends. I've been married for 35 years. In today's age, that's a long time. And I'm proud of that. I love my wife. And, I think that, being married is probably one of the most difficult things you'll ever do in your life. So, there's a lot of challenges, and, it's a lot of hard work. And, I'm proud of my wife. I'm proud of my kids. And I'm one happy guy because we're one happy family.
What do you attribute most to your ability to stay in that relationship for so long?
I would attribute it to my faith, first and foremost. And I would attribute it to just being a committed man. You know, I chose to marry my wife, and when I was extremely young and immature, had no idea what I was doing, and had kids early on. But, you know, I made a choice, you know, and said my vows, even though I may not have known what I was saying at that point in time. You know, I learned over the years, you know, what it meant. And I think one of the things I learned too early on was that I had all kinds of problems. I was like, I came from, you know, a family that's pretty interesting and with lots of problems. And, you know,
Can you go into those more, like the types of problems you were surrounded by?
I mean, I haven't spoken to my father for, I don't even know how many years. I mean, he's not a part of my life. You know, my mother's kind of in and out of my life, but, you know, I came from, you know, a family mentally and physically abusive and stuff. And so, you know, my kids they don't know my father. I don't know my father. So, you know, it was a difficult childhood being raised, you know, how I was raised, you know. And,
Because of the abuse, you chose to separate yourself from that?
I chose to live a different lifestyle. I think, you know, you can become a victim of your circumstances that you grow up in, or, you know, I made a choice early on to, you know, separate myself from my childhood and grow up in a different way. And I chose to discipline my children in a different manner than I was disciplined. And so it was a conscious choice. You have to make a conscious decision, and it's a lot of hard work to change, you know, patterns that you've been raised by.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you feel like you had extra baggage to carry, or that you had to prove people wrong? What is your inner drive to get to the point where you are now?
I think, you know, a lot of my inner drive, I would say I'm a very excessive compulsive person. That's my personality trait. And, you know, I think I was very driven in sports to, you know, prove people that to my father that, you know, I was amounting to something. My dad was an athlete and stuff, and, you know, I thought I had something to prove, and so I was working hard. I started my painting company, and I wanted to prove a point that I could be successful, and so I was very driven, you know, by trying to prove a point to others that I could be successful, because I was told at an early age that I wouldn't be by many people surrounding me. So
when did it shift from trying to prove other people wrong to like proving yourself right? Or was there a point where you just like let go of those things and just fully accepted your own journey? That's
a really good question. So I've never been asked that before. You know, if you know my past, I'm an excessive compulsive person. And so if I didn't choose sports and athletics, I probably would have been a drug addict or alcoholic. And so I chose sports to, you know, kind of try to, you know, direct my life, you know, to, you know, so I wouldn't get in trouble. And I was first a wrestler. I wrestled on a U.S. Cultural International team. I ended up into bodybuilding from wrestling. Due to a lot of insecurities, and won some titles in bodybuilding, won the overall Mr. Idaho title here in Idaho. I eventually went into powerlifting, won a gold medal in the World Police and Fire Games. Yeah. Eventually started racing bikes, won a lot of titles, you know, racing bikes. But there was one thing that stood out, you know, very vivid in my life. And so when I won the Mr. Idaho title, I flew back to California. That's where I was raised, and, you know, took my trophy, took a video that's of me winning that title, and I was pretty proud of it. And I thought my father would be pretty proud of it because, you know, he was an athlete, you know, and I vividly remember him playing the piano, and he was sitting in the corner playing the piano, and I took the VHS, and that'll date me a little bit. And I put the VHS in the TV and said, "Hey, Dad, I want you to see, what I won." And he didn't even stop playing the piano. And he said he had no desire to watch my video of me standing on stage. And I knew at that point that no matter how many titles I won, no matter how successful I became, he had no interest in seeing it. And so, that's a very vivid point that stands out for me. But I still think, even to this day, it's hard to, not try to continue to prove that point. Right. I understand it now eternally, and you fight it, but that was kind of a turning point and a shift.